Hey geometry students, this is going to be from 16.2, our lesson on 45, 45, 90 triangles. I know that with all the snow days and things, a lot of us either haven't been here for parts of lessons or are just having a hard time understanding these different concepts since it's been so disjointed with our long weekends. So this is going to be kind of a recap of this lesson on 45, 45, 90s using problems 3 and 4 from your homework. So this first one, the rule with a 45, 45, 90 in general is, let's see if I can draw something somewhere on here. I'll draw it right here. Is if we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle, the legs are the same. So if I know what the legs are, if they're both some number x, they're going to be the same number x. And then they have this relationship with the hypotenuse that whatever these numbers are, if you multiply it by the square root of 2, that's going to be your hypotenuse. And it goes the opposite the other direction. So if I know the hypotenuse, I can divide it by the square root of 2 to get these two sides here. So if I look at this problem, notice I'm given a leg. This is the leg, not the hypotenuse. Here's my hypotenuse. So the legs, that first leg is 5 root 2. Since it's a 45, 45, 90, I know these legs are the same. So this leg is also 5 root 2. So that tells me my first one, mn, is 5 root 2. And then if I'm going to continue filling in this picture here, this even kind of helps us out here, times root 2. I can take this leg, 5 root 2, and multiply it again by root 2. But this isn't a fully simplified answer because in my fully simplified answer, I don't want to have more than one square root in the picture. So the square root of 2 times itself, so the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. Anything, square root of anything times itself is going to be that number that was on the inside. So square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. And then we still have 5 here, so 5 times 2, which is 10. So my hypotenuse is just going to be 10. So that side is 10. And NP, since that's NP, is 10. Okay, so that's one case in this situation where we're given a leg and we need to find the hypotenuse. We just multiply by the square root of 2. Okay, the other case that we had today was something a little bit more like problem number 4. It's still a 45, 45, 90, but this time instead of being given a leg, we're given the hypotenuse, which is 10. So to go from the hypotenuse to the leg, this time we have to divide by square root of 2. So notice how on a 45, 45, 90, you're either multiplying by square root of 2 or you're dividing by square root of 2. You multiply to make things bigger, you divide to make things smaller in this situation. So divide by square root of 2. So if I just take 10 and divide it by the square root of 2, I could just write my answer as 10 divided by square root of 2 and be done. That's one way that you can write your answer. Technically, it's not the most simplified way, so there is something called rationalizing the denominator that you can do, where you go take your 10 divided by square root 2, and you multiply on the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. So you end up with multiplying straight across 10 root 2, and then root 2 times root 2 is 2. And then notice how we have an even number on the top and on the bottom. They're both divisible by 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. So you can also write your answer as 5 root 2. Either way, it's the same answer. This one's technically a little bit more simplified, but I will accept either answer. So you can either go 10 over root 2 or 5 root 2. Notice also if you type, at least into some calculators, if you type 10 divided by second square root 2, enter, it will give you 5 root 2, the most simplified version of it. Either way is fine with me. So if you want to just leave it as 10 over root 2 because you know you're supposed to divide by root 2 and that's it, then that's fine. But if you're going to go on to advanced algebra trig, this would be a good habit to get into, rationalizing the denominator, because that is what they will expect there. Okay, so anyway, both of these are going to be the same. They'll both either be 10 over root 2 or 5 root 2. So when you go to fill in your answers here, A, B, this top side here, you can either put 10 over root 2 or you can put 5 root 2. Same thing here, BC, this side, you can either put 10 over root 2 or 5 root 2. Either way is fine. So the main idea here is that if you're given the hypotenuse, you divide by square root of 2. If you're given the leg, you multiply by square root of 2. Those are kind of our two rules here. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful. If you have questions, come talk to me in class, before class, after class, AR time. I'm available very often, so come see me if you need help. All right, see you guys later.